So I want to read you some of the statement from the head of Hezbollah. And I don't read these statements saying you need to believe every word that the head of any side says. If I read a statement by Israel, it's not that every word they say is perfect but I think that this statement by Hezbollah says a lot about the situation, what the situation is over there, what the situation is between Hezbollah and Israel, and where things stand. So I'm going to read some of this statement. This is the leader of Hezbollah said, and by the way, he increasingly calls them the enemy. So just so you know, these are his words. On Tuesday, the Israeli enemy targeted thousands of pager devices simultaneously, and they did not care about ethics, morals, or any other values. It crosses all lines. Some of those who carried the pagers were nurses, doctors, and pharmacists. If they want to target us, target the fighters of Hezbollah. Do not be cowards and involve our civilians. And again, that is, the difference of the way some people have been involved in war in the past and the way Israel is behaving is we just want to kill everyone, which also is the definition of genocide. But they're not parsing between civilians and non-civilians. And yet you have these idiots claiming, oh, this is the most precise attack. Oh, really? Tell that to the 8-year-old girl who died. This is the most precise attack you've ever seen? No, it is absolutely not. To continue from the statement, yesterday, the Israeli enemy targeted radios, which caused tens of deaths, including women, children, and civilians. The Israeli forces knew that these pagers were not just present in the military units, but also in the different departments. They deliberately tried to kill 4,000 humans within a single minute. And I think that's another important point is I bet you that Israel was hoping, of course they were, but also thought this was going to kill hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't think and it now seems likely that they inserted some small amount of explosive into the pagers. I imagine a pager doesn't have a lot of room for explosives in there. So they inserted some small amount of explosive that would then detonate upon being heated up. That seems to be what most people are saying because they captured the shipment before it got to Lebanon. Anyway, I think they thought this was going to kill hundreds, if not thousands. And it ended up killing, 37 or something. But I don't think that they thought this was just going to injure most of these people. I think they absolutely were hoping this would take hundreds, if not thousands of lives. To continue from the statement, altogether, combining Tuesday and Wednesday, Israel tried to kill 5,000 people. This act was a terrorist act, a massacre. This action can be considered an act of war. There is no doubt that we were subject to a big strike, both in terms of security and humanitarian, and this level of aggression was unprecedented in the history of Lebanon. And this next part is kind of important in terms of where this war is headed. Is Hezbollah going to back down now? Are they going to stop fighting? Are they in disarray? The statement continues, no matter how strong or unprecedented the strike is, the enemy will never force us to the ground. Our resistance will only become more determined. And I think that's likely true. I don't think that of the thousands that survived this attack, meaning they had a part of their body blown off and they're going to recover, I don't think they're going to stop being Hezbollah. I think they're probably going to be more committed to Hezbollah than ever before. Those who actually were Hezbollah, of course, a lot of them, such as the 8-year-old girl, not Hezbollah. Some desperate people from day one have claimed that Hezbollah has made no difference on the battlefield, meaning not influencing Israel. Rather, you should listen to what Israel says about this matter. Well, some people talk shit about us. Obviously that's a translation, but I just wonder whether the Hezbollah leader actually said they talk shit about us. Anyway, the enemy, Israel itself, openly admits that we have accomplished strategic and tactical victories and that we have affected the occupying entity to an unprecedented extent, and this is a battle of attrition. The Lebanese front is one of the most important negotiation cards that Hamas holds against Israel. For 11 months, Israel has threatened us with full-scale war to try to stop our support front. We will never stop supporting Gaza. If we stop our operations now, which the enemy insists upon, then everything we did in the past year would go to waste. They will never be able to separate the Lebanese front from the Palestinian front. This is our religious and humanitarian duty. So that speaks to how the Hezbollah is not going to back down now that Israel blew up 5,000 pagers. And I think it's just going to strengthen their resolve. So even militarily, it's a terrible move. And of course, morally, it's disgusting. Ethically, it's disgusting. And yet you have these lunatics, I'm speaking lunatics in the United States for the most part, talking about how this was such a wonderful wonderful and precise thing. And by the way, this is a fair point. David Miller wrote, anyone who defends this terrorist attack in Lebanon has outed themselves as an intelligence asset for a hostile state and should be dealt with as such, meaning you should know that he doesn't mean like attack them or anything. He just means you should know what they're reporting, that these are intelligence or something akin to intelligence. He says, if you want to know who is an intelligence asset, just look at the unmistakable signature of the almost identical language used by the assets, the quote unquote precision, quote unquote accurate, quote unquote targeted, quote unquote strikes. And he gives some examples of these people who should be considered intelligence. He says Zionist asset at the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring. Now I can't imagine ever reading the Daily Wire, but I can't imagine reading any of this shit. So New York Times so-called journalist David French used much similar terminology. David Frum, big surprise there. Former George W. Bush speechwriter. Congressman Brad Sherman used the same language. And this is a lot of language that seems to be coming out, put out as like a PR campaign. Oh no, this was a precision attack, a precise attack. Great job. No, this is a war crime. It's a terrorist action, and that's how it should be defined. Afshin Ratanzi, who I've had on this show, the host of Going Underground, says, under the rules-based order, because, the United States always says we want this international rules-based order that we're going to have. That's one of the big talking points of your U.S. PR goons. They say we want a rules-based order in the world. And so under this rules-based order, you can infiltrate supply chains and turn thousands of communication devices into weapons. You can detonate them all across a sovereign country indiscriminately, causing mass civilian casualties. You can remain silent and have the supposed enforcers of the rules-based order not condemn, let alone act against, a blatant act of state terrorism. Israel's actions in Lebanon once again expose the rules-based order as simply rules for thee, not for me. I think that's absolutely true.